Chapter 22. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah his youngest son king in his place, for the band of men that came with the Arabians to the camp had killed all the older sons. So Ahaziah the son of Jehoram king of Judah reigned. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Athaliah, the granddaughter of Omri. He also walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother was his counselor in doing wickedly. He did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, as the house of Ahab had done. For after the death of his father, they were his counselors to his undoing. He even followed their counsel and went with Jehoram the son of Ahab king of Israel, to make war against Hazael king of Syria at Ramoth-Gilead. And the Syrians wounded Joram, and he returned to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds that he had received at Ramah, when he fought against Hazael king of Syria. And Ahaziah the son of Jehoram king of Judah went down to see Joram the son of Ahab in Jezreel, because he was wounded. But it was ordained by God that the downfall of Ahaziah should come about through his going to visit Joram. For when he came there, he went out with Jehoram to meet Jehu the son of Nimshi, whom the Lord had anointed to destroy the house of Ahab. And when Jehu was executing judgment on the house of Ahab, he met the princes of Judah and the sons of Ahaziah's brothers, who attended Ahaziah, and he killed them. He searched for Ahaziah, and he was captured while hiding in Samaria, and he was brought to Jehu and put to death. They buried him, for they said, "He is the grandson of Jehoshaphat, who sought the Lord with all his heart." And the house of Ahaziah had no one able to rule the kingdom. Now when Athaliah the mother of Ahaziah saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the royal family of the house of Judah. But Jehoshabeath, the daughter of the king, took Joash the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the king's sons who were about to be put to death, and she put him and his nurse in a bedroom. Thus Jehoshabeath, the daughter of King Jehoram and wife of Jehoiada the priest, because she was a sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah, so that she did not put him to death. And he remained with them 6 years, hidden in the house of God, while Athaliah reigned over the land. Chapter 23. But in the 7th year Jehoiada took courage, and entered into a covenant with the commanders of hundreds, Azariah the son of Jehoram, Ishmael the son of Jehohanan, Azariah the son of Obed, Maaseiah the son of Adaiah, and Elishaphat the son of Zechariah. And they went about through Judah and gathered the Levites from all the cities of Judah, and the heads of fathers' houses of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. And all the assembly made a covenant with the king in the house of God. And Jehoiada said to them, "Behold the king's son. Let him reign as the Lord spoke concerning the sons of David. This is the thing that you shall do. Of you priests and Levites who come off duty on the Sabbath, 1/3 shall be gatekeepers, and 1/3 shall be at the king's house, and 1/3 at the gate of the foundation. And all the people shall be in the courts of the house of the Lord. Let no one enter the house of the Lord except the priests and ministering Levites. They may enter, for they are holy, but all the people shall keep the charge of the Lord. The Levites shall surround the king, each with his weapons in his hand, and whoever enters the house shall be put to death. Be with the king when he comes in and when he goes out." The Levites and all Judah did according to all that Jehoiada the priest commanded, and they each brought his men who were to go off duty on the Sabbath with those who were to come on duty on the Sabbath, for Jehoiada the priest did not dismiss the divisions. And Jehoiada the priest gave to the captains the spears and the large and small shields that had been King David's, which were in the house of God. And he set all the people as a guard for the king, every man with his weapon in his hand, from the south side of the house to the north side of the house, around the altar and the house. Then they brought out the king's son and put the crown on him and gave him the testimony. And they proclaimed him king, and Jehoiada and his sons anointed him, and they said, "Long live the king." When Athaliah heard the noise of the people running and praising the king, she went into the house of the Lord to the people. And when she looked, there was the king standing by his pillar at the entrance, and the captains and the trumpeters beside the king, and all the people of the land rejoicing and blowing trumpets, and the singers with their musical instruments leading in the celebration. And Athaliah tore her clothes and cried, "Treason! Treason!" Then Jehoiada the priest brought out the captains who were set over the army, saying to them, "Bring her out between the ranks, and anyone who follows her is to be put to death with the sword." For the priest said, "Do not put her to death in the house of the Lord." So they laid hands on her, and she went into the entrance of the horse gate of the king's house, and they put her to death there. And Jehoiada made a covenant between himself and all the people and the king, that they should be the Lord's people. Then all the people went to the house of Baal and tore it down. His altars and his images they broke in pieces, and they killed Mattan the priest of Baal before the altars. And Jehoiada posted watchmen for the house of the Lord under the direction of the Levitical priests and the Levites whom David had organized to be in charge of the house of the Lord, to offer burnt offerings to the Lord, as it is written in the law of Moses, with rejoicing and with singing, according to the order of David. He stationed the gatekeepers at the gates of the house of the Lord, so that no one should enter who was in any way unclean. And he took the captains, the nobles, the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and they brought the king down from the house of the Lord, marching through the upper gate to the king's house. And they set the king on the royal throne. So all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet after Athaliah had been put to death with the sword. Chapter 10. Then I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven, wrapped in a cloud, with a rainbow over his head. And his face was like the sun, and his legs like pillars of fire. He had a little scroll open in his hand, and he set his right foot on the sea, and his left foot on the land. And he called out with a loud voice, like a lion roaring. When he called out, the 7 thunders sounded. And when the 7 thunders had sounded, I was about to write, but I heard a voice from heaven saying, "Seal up what the 7 thunders have said, and do not write it down." And the angel whom I saw standing on the sea and on the land raised his right hand to heaven, and swore by him who lives forever and ever, who created heaven and what is in it, the earth and what is in it, and the sea and what is in it, that there would be no more delay, but that in the days of the trumpet call to be sounded by the 7th angel, the mystery of God would be fulfilled, just as he announced to his servants, the prophets. Then the voice that I had heard from heaven spoke to me again, saying, "Go, take the scroll that is open in the hand of the angel who is standing on the sea and on the land." So I went to the angel and told him to give me the little scroll. And he said to me, "Take and eat it. It will make your stomach bitter, but in your mouth it will be sweet as honey." And I took the little scroll from the hand of the angel and ate it. It was sweet as honey in my mouth, but when I had eaten it, my stomach was made bitter. And I was told, "You must again prophesy about many peoples and nations and languages and kings." Chapter 6. Again I lifted my eyes and saw, and behold, 4 chariots came out from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of bronze. The first chariot had red horses, the second black horses, the third white horses, and the 4th chariot dappled horses, all of them strong. Then I answered and said to the angel who talked with me, "What are these, my lord?" And the angel answered and said to me, "These are going out to the 4 winds of heaven, after presenting themselves before the Lord of all the earth." The chariot with the black horses goes toward the north country. The white ones go after them, and the dappled ones go toward the south country. When the strong horses came out, they were impatient to go and patrol the earth. And he said, "Go, patrol the earth." So they patrolled the earth. Then he cried to me, "Behold, those who go toward the north country have set my spirit at rest in the north country." And the word of the Lord came to me, "Take from the exiles Heldai, Tobijah, and Jedaiah, who have arrived from Babylon, and go the same day to the house of Josiah, the son of Zephaniah. Take from them silver and gold, and make a crown, and set it on the head of Joshua, the son of Jehozadak, the high priest. And say to him, Thus says the Lord of hosts, Behold the man whose name is the branch. For he shall branch out from his place, and he shall build the temple of the Lord. It is he who shall build the temple of the Lord, and shall bear royal honor, and shall sit and rule on his throne. And there shall be a priest on his throne, and the council of peace shall be between them both. And the crown shall be in the temple of the Lord as a reminder to Helam, Tobijah, Jedaiah, and Han the son of Zephaniah. And those who are far off shall come and help to build the temple of the Lord. And you shall know that the Lord of hosts has sent me to you. And this shall come to pass, if you will diligently obey the voice of the Lord your God.
The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for just the perfect way to start my day, to start our day with our hearts inclined to you. Thank you for this, whatever it is, this show, this podcast, this opportunity to just open it up for anybody who wants to hear it and wants to join. And I thank you that I have my friends here that make this a part of their day. And I pray that you bless them each day. So thank you, Lord, in your name. Amen. And I know for some of you, it's not the beginning of your day. It's in the middle of your day. Well, not in the middle. It's morning for most of you, except for some of our international participants here. I don't know what time it is in the Netherlands, for example. All right, let's say hello. Jacqueline was in first with the Valentine's Day salutation. Yes, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. And I do get your point, Tom, Sweet Home Bergie. Let's just go there. Yeah, they dropped the saint to be more secular, but it is Saint Valentine, who was put to death, by the way. I don't know the whole story, but yeah, he was a martyr. But good morning, Jeremy. I didn't skip you. I was just mentioning Tom's thing. A little scattered this morning. I'll tell you where I was yesterday. If nobody had been in the comment section mentioning it, had to run to the emergency room on Sunday night. But let me finish saying hello. AC Cruz, hello to you, and Carol Fryer. Good morning, Carrie. Jumper, right? That's your last name. Repmudge. Darren, Blues One Clue, good to see you. And let's see. Let's put this up. I'm glad you. I just prayed that I appreciate this, but yeah, thank you for that, Jeremy. You're welcome. Saying thank you to Gina and I, and you're welcome. There's more stuff coming down the pipe, but this is the daily. This is the inner circle. This is this is. Did I say good morning, Carol Fryer? I did. This is where I just unload, honestly. By the way, you like my hair? I did nothing to it this morning. The pressure is on for me to get my hair cut. The pressure is on from my wife. And Tom Pepin TV, there's the other one. So good morning. Okay, where was I? Oh, so I have, let me just disclose, I have 3 kids, and my oldest just turned 21 a couple days ago. So yes, I'm the father of a legal adult. Well, maybe 18 is legal adulthood, but she can now drink legally. I don't know what else is there at 21 that you can do that you couldn't do before. You could drink illegally, but now she can drink legally. I don't know what else there is, but she texted me. I was actually working Sunday night. I worked the Super Bowl, just putting out media content on the Super Bowl, and it was toward the end, and she's like, if I'm having trouble breathing, should I go to the emergency room? And I typed back yes, and then called her instantly, and she wasn't feeling well, and I know she'd been a little bit under the weather, but she'd been out partying, right? But she is the one in our household that has gotten every single one of those jabs, everyone possible, right? The jab, the and she has had COVID 3 times. And, so my 2 younger kids have never got any jab and have only had COVID once. So I was doing my own little test case here in my household. My wife and I have been vaccinated, but none of the jabs afterwards, none of that. And the reason I got vaccinated, this is the fact. These are the facts. I did not want to get vaccinated at all. And there was nothing that was going to persuade me that I needed to stick that in my arm. Nothing. Except my father-in-law was dying of cancer, and they wouldn't let me see him again. They wouldn't let me go into the hospital to see him, to say goodbye to him. So I weighed my options. I'm like, I am a very healthy individual. I am the one in the house that never gets sick. I mean, I get sick, but almost never get sick. And so I got vaccinated so that I could say goodbye to my father-in-law. And thank God they didn't have that. I didn't mean to go into vaccinations today, but thank God they didn't have that one for teenagers yet, because they would have required my kids, but they were let in. My kids were let in. And so that's why they have not been vaccinated. All right. Thank you, Tom. Your own control study counts. Yeah, the one who's gotten all the jabs has caught COVID 3 times, and the ones who have never been no jabs have only caught it once. And those two are the healthiest athletes in this household. It's, like, seriously. Okay. To the Bible. That's why we're gathered here. We're not here. Oh, another little update. Sometimes I save these toward the end, but I got two things to say right now. I got a huge surprise for you guys tomorrow. Huge surprise. It's not going to be a surprise. I'm going to tell you right now. For the chat session tomorrow, which is right after this, 8:30 my time, I'm interviewing Miracle Mom. Mom is back. Miracle Mom is back. And, well, not back for good, but she's been doing some stuff. I'm going to interview her. She's coming on tomorrow. Surprise, surprise. All right. And then the other thing to update you on is, I've told you guys that there's the potential that I'm going to be meeting a billionaire. And, working in Hollywood, everybody in Hollywood has a side project. Everybody who has a gig, a job, a lot of people don't realize that the 99% of people that work in Hollywood are just grinding it out, regular Joes like you and me with a job that happens to be a Hollywood job. And you're a cog in a wheel. Like, you have a skill set that is required by whoever has hired you. It's not a glamorous thing. Working in Hollywood is not glamorous. It's a grind. Those red carpets, you see all those pretty faces on the red carpet. The people behind the cameras and asking questions, it is a grind. It's just a grinding job. And the majority of Hollywood jobs are like that. But so everybody that's in Hollywood just about has their own side project, the dream, right? They have a project, the dream. This is what's going to make me my own boss. To be in Hollywood, you don't just want to work for somebody else. You want to, either be on camera or recognized for something you've done. And with that mindset, you always hear people tell, "Oh, potential investor," and I was connected to this, connected to that. And it's a long process, and some of them happen and some of them don't. So I don't have illusions about meeting investors. On this project, my first investor, I've had my first investor, and he has brought us to this point. He's helped get the translation done. The Sogomentarian project is what I'm talking about. Translation is done. Research has been done. It's at the point where I now own the rights to it because of his funding of a lawyer, etc. So that's, a lot going on. The next investor needs to be a big investor to get the thing made. And so, I met with a guy who knows some very wealthy people, in particular one billionaire. And he knows more than one billionaire, but there's one guy in particular that he's presenting this to. And so there's this possibility. When it first occurred, I'm like, oh, wow, okay. I always felt this was an inevitability, that this project is that big. It needs that kind of attention. But then, it's like, okay, I wrote my thing that he asked me to write up after our Zoom call, and then I sent it off, and then you die to it. That's the position you have to have in this business. In life in general, you have these high hopes, these big dreams, and then it's like, okay, I've done what at this point, it's not up to me to follow, to hound that guy. So what do you say? What do you say? Am I going to meet with him? Blah, blah, blah. No, I wrote it out, sent it out, and died to it. It's like, if it never comes to anything, if this particular contact never comes to anything, it wasn't God's will. And that's the posture I need to have. And so then I got a response yesterday, and he's some follow-up questions. I'm like, oh, well, those are good questions. That means it. And so before I got that email yesterday, in my mind, it was like, well, even if this billionaire isn't my next investor or ever an investor in what I'm doing, at least there's a billionaire who knows who I am and knows what I'm doing, right? How many people can say there's a billionaire that knows what I'm working on? Very few. That's a small number. And that's how I think about things. Okay, I could go on tangents, but this isn't about me telling my stories, but I squeeze them in because I can. Okay, now I was a little behind in my personal reading, so I hadn't read this yet. Normally, I like to read these before we meet together, and I was a whole chapter or a whole day behind, so I didn't read this yet. But one thing that pops out to me is some of these wicked women, some wicked women, some mothers of these kings, corrupted by power. I'm like, man, why are they so like this king who starts the reforms? I think it was Jehoshaphat, was tearing down idols that his mother, it's stated a couple times, tearing down the idols in the high places that his mother had set up, or it's like, man, why are there so many? And this is the thought that actually occurred to me, man, there's some really wicked women in scripture. And then I realized, oh, well, there's some really, really wicked men. It's just, it's none of us has a monopoly on goodness or evil. Right. It just demonstrates, yeah, we are all wicked. Just because it mentions a few women, it's not that the women are more wicked. It's just like equal, we're, there's no, anyway, there's no special wickedness for women. I mean, because men and women are different, the wickedness manifests itself differently. Right? Men just go out and brutally butcher, and women scheme and connive, but men can scheme and connive. But anyway, I want to focus on that. But these two chapters are about some more reforms, and then some one woman, who is she? Ethel, that gets. They didn't want to put her to death in the house of the Lord. I love this about wherever it is. If you're following along closely. Levites and Judah did according to what Jehoiada commanded. Essentially, because they end up killing the whole families, right? This person's king and anybody else who could possibly, take over the throne, they're put to death. They're like, I'm going to be king, and to protect my kingship, I'm going to kill all my brothers, right? All my brothers. I'm king. I'm going to kill all my brothers. It's like, good grief. Talk about wicked. But then they're commanded that the Levites and the priests should arm themselves and surround the king. And I love that picture. It's like, oh yeah, the temple is the seat of all authority, right? The seat of all authority. And here's an extrapolation for how this is relevant to us. Here's a picture of a king being protected by armed priests and Levites, right? Armed priests and Levites surrounding him in the temple. I'm like, what a glorious, glorious picture. Well, that's us, right? We are the temple, and we are the priests, and we are the Levites, and we are the kings, right? We have all authority, and we are protected by angels with flaming swords of fire. Which brings us to Revelation. Right? Let's look at Revelation now. Revelation 10. This is just Athaliah. Thank you, Carol Fryer. I was like, what's her name? Yeah. She gets put to death somewhere. It's like, ooh. And anybody who follows her, that's the thing that was stated in one of the verses. Anybody who follows her is also put to death. So it's eradicating the wickedness and the mentality and whatever crazy talk that this Athaliah was spouting to try and undermine the rightful king. Anybody who is corrupted by her polluted think, her hate think, her hate speak, her delusion, was put to death as well to eradicate that mindset from the people. Okay. I saw in verse 1, chapter 10, I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven, wrapped in a cloud, a rainbow over his head. And these pictures are incredible. His face was like the sun, his legs like pillars of fire, little scroll. And then where is it? The angel whom I saw at verse 5, standing on the sea and on the land, raised his right hand to heaven and swore by him who lives forever and ever, who created heaven and was in it, the earth that was in it, the sea that was in it. And so this is not Christ, right? So this is an angel. It's not Christ. It's some of these different angels. Fascinates me we're going to meet them. We're going to see them like this, right? And just these pictures, it's like when we see them, we'll have eyes, we'll have new eyes, right? We'll have new bodies. We'll be able to handle it, and we'll actually shine like them. But we don't know specifically who they are, but they're not Jesus. And there are times when, where is it? Okay, I'm going to stay in Revelation. We're going to finish up here. The thing I wanted to point out, verse 4, and when the seven thunders had sounded. So he's having these experiences. Like this is John essentially straddling the threshold, if you will. He's straddling the threshold. The vision, the revelation is John straddling the threshold of heaven and earth. He's literally standing right on it, 1 foot in heaven, 1 foot on earth, and he's watching this stuff, and he can't believe. Well, let's say he can't believe it. I imagine he was like pinching himself or poking him with his stylus, whatever he's writing with. So he's having this experience, and he turns like, "This is incredible. I got to write this down." Right. So in heaven, his mind, where our minds are, right, as we're reading this, we are in heaven, right? We are visualizing these things. He's writing them down as a funnel, a historical funnel for us to have a glimpse of the similar experience. We're not having the full experience, but we're having, close your eyes and try and imagine this stuff. You're getting a dimmer view than he had. And he's like, I gotta write this down. And that's his mind is in heaven, and his body, his hand, and the pen, the paper, the parchment, whatever he's writing on, is on earth. And he's like, I gotta write this down. And then he says, that's not something that you can write down. No. And I don't know why. It doesn't say why. It doesn't say this is forbidden, or it's like, good luck. There's no way you're going to be able to accurately articulate this, so don't bother. I don't know. But so John's having experiences, and some of it we don't know because it's impossible to write down. Here's something that wasn't written down. We'll know eventually. And so I just love looking at this. And then as I was thinking about Revelation over the weekend, and these things that so many people think are in the future, part of my mission that I believe is part of why God has me on this course. I'm always honest with you guys. I'm never, there are things that I don't say because I have a non-disclosure agreement, that I can't disclose stuff to you, but you're getting the unvarnished me when I start talking about this stuff. And so part of what I believe is, it seems like God's given me favor. It seems like, and I'm referring to the project, Sogelman Tellurian, it seems like I'm seeing this project and I'm having visions of the future as a result of the project. I look at it and I go, wow, if this really is the direction that I think it's going in, then wow, that puts me in quite the catbird seat, if you will. Like when a person becomes famous, they can never become unfamous. And I've always had this sense that I was going to do something important. Okay, yeah, here's Michael with his self-importance, Messiah complex or whatever it is. It's like, since I was very young, I always felt like I was called to something. And then I became a Christian, and then like it all came back, it's like, and stronger. And now that I've come across this project, it's like, I don't know, God, is this real? I mean, is it real? And it seems like looks like I'm about to meet a billionaire. And so if this project happens, one of the important roles that seems like I'm going to play. I mean, if I get to a point where I am fully funded and can, obviously work on the project, but also do what I want, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to really up this campaign against premillennialism. It's like premillennialism is just a total deception in the church. It's just really harming people's understanding of what God is doing in the world. If you're a premillennialist, you're sitting back thinking God's going to come and destroy everything, and then we're going to live in heaven happily ever after. It's like, no, you're in heaven right now, and the world is getting better and better and better gradually, like leaven, like the mustard seed plant. Well, you are in heaven, and God is taking over the world through us, right? And postmillennialism is the way you can the best articulate that to people, because it's the biblical. You can point to the Bible. Premillennialism, you have to make up stuff. All right. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.